We are following a story of potentially enormous consequence that's unfolding under the Gold Dome right now. The House has just passed a new version of the Religious Liberty Bill and sent it over to the Senate, and that bill is already causing great controversy downtown. Plus, we're going to take a look at Campus Carry and talk to the authors of the bill about where it's headed next as Sine Die approaches. I'm Bill Nygut. Lawmakers starts right now. Welcome to Lawmakers. We have a really interesting program for you tonight. Let me fill you in on what's going on down at the Capitol right now. As you all know, if you've been following the session, there's been a great deal of controversy over the so-called religious liberty bills from the very start of the session. Some people think the measures discriminate against gays and lesbians or make it possible for discrimination to take place. Others say no, they are simply protections for people to pursue their religious beliefs in the appropriate way without government interference. Well, the RFRA bills have been stalled for a number of weeks. We know that negotiations were going on between the Senate and the House and the governor's office. Late this afternoon, to everyone's surprise, and I think to the surprise of many members of the House, a substitute RFRA bill came to the floor and it passed by a wide margin. The supporters of the bill say there's no discrimination involved in this measure at all. The opponents took to the well and offered passionate arguments that they felt this bill opened the door for discrimination, especially with the gay and lesbian community. We're going to look at all of that as we go through the Lawmakers tonight, because this still is a developing story. But right now, let's go down to Shelby Lynn, who's at the Capitol with stories that she's been following today as well.
Hi, Bill. As you said, RFRA is our top story tonight. However, we're going to start with the latest developments on MARTA. We told you yesterday that a House committee had passed MARTA expansion bill HB 369. That measure passed late today in the House. It now goes to the Senate. The bill would allow voters in Fulton County to pass a sales tax increase to help fund MARTA rail projects in the county. Also tonight, an update on the Justice for Rape Victims Act. The bill would require the Georgia Bureau of Investigation to test hundreds of backlogged rape kits in the state, but the measure has stalled in a Senate committee. Supporters are blaming the committee chair, who has come out against the measure. Now, Scott Holcomb, a Democrat from Atlanta, he's the sponsor of the bill. He blames Senate Health and Human Services Committee Chairwoman Renee Unterman for holding up the bill. He's urging a hearing on the measure, but Senator Unterman has come out and told us, Bill, that HB 827, that's the bill number, won't make it out of her committee this session. She says the measure just isn't needed. She also says law enforcement is already addressing the problem. Now, we've been tracking several tax bills this session, one of them HB 238. Now, that passed in the Senate today. It would lower the personal income tax in Georgia, but a contentious debate arose over the bill on the Senate floor. But in the end, it passed on a vote of 39 to 17. It now goes back to the House for review. And guess what, Bill? The Senate and the House, they just finished up tonight. And they were still hard at work all day trying to get as much legislation through as possible. And we'll have the latest for you in the next couple days. Back to you at the Capitol.
All right, Shelby, thank you so much. Let me introduce now our guests. Representative Mandy Ballinger is with us. She's a Republican from Canton, Georgia. And Representative Rick Jaspers, who's from where else? Jasper, Georgia. Yeah. He, too, is a Republican. Thank you both for being here. I know that since both of you have been deeply involved in carrying the Campus Carry bill, we want to get to that in a minute. But this developing story on the religious liberty bill is something that I'd really love to give you each just a second to talk about. Representative Jaspers, I said in the introduction that this caught a lot of people in the House off guard. Am I right about that?
No, Bill.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think this is, as you said in your introduction, something we've been working on from day one.
But did you expect it to come to the floor late this afternoon?
No, that is, but for us to do something, and here it is on day 37.
Right.
Yeah, we needed to do something today.
Fair enough.
And I know we've been a lot of time and effort, expenditure, capital people have been working to find that balance. That it's protects people, that's non-discriminatory, and I think they have worked very hard to accomplish that. And what we met in the caucus today, and the bill we heard, and the debate we heard, they have accomplished that. And I'm just proud for them because I know how difficult it is by carrying a campus carry bill like that, how hard it is to find balance and get there. And I'm just tickled for them. I think we've came up with something that business is going to like. It's going to make sure we keep Georgia that #1 place in America to do business. And I think you'll see people rally around it over the weekend.
Representative Ballinger, one of the reasons that I emphasized it caught people a little bit off guard that it actually came to the floor late this afternoon is this is a substitute, a brand new substitute that I think many members saw for the first time when the bill was brought to the floor.
Yes.
And what that raises, and I think I heard in a lot of the debate over this measure, is that people didn't have an awful lot of time to thoroughly read the language in the bill. And there are those on the opposite side of this who came to the conclusion, like a Representative Carla Drenner, Taylor Bennett, Democrats, nevertheless, concerned about these things, that this bill does open the door for religious organizations especially to have freedom to not hire gays and lesbians, to not adopt babies to gay couples without government being able to intercede in any way. Did everybody get a chance to vet this bill?
I think everybody did, Phil. I do think that the amendment that we passed to House Bill 757, which is what we actually voted on this afternoon, I think the actual outline of that bill, there were so many different moving parts that had been parsed and had been poured over and had been vetted through in various capacities throughout both the House and the Senate. So I think a lot of people were very familiar with the language. I think the ultimate outcome or the ultimate product that we wound up voting on, I think, was new and fresh to a lot of people, but I think that it had been discussed very thoroughly in both houses.
Okay, Senator Vincent Fort is down at the Capitol right now, and he was initially going to try to be in here to talk with you all about campus carry, but he's down there and he's been looking at the substitute RFRA bill too. Senator Fort, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
I know you don't have a whole lot of time. Very quickly, what is your take on the substitute that passed the House? By the way, there was initially talk that it would come to you for a vote tonight on the substitute. Am I right to assume that did not happen?
It has not happened yet, but we fully expect it. The bill is on our desks, and when they put a bill on the desk, they have, I think, an hour for it to lay on the desk so it can be debated and voted on this evening.
And what's your take on this substitute?
I just finished reading it. It's, I think, worse than what it's RFRA and FADA and the Passenger Protection Act jammed together. It would allow discrimination against LGBTQ communities. It would allow discrimination based on religion. I'm really appalled. I thought that we were going to that we weren't going to see, after what the governor said, I thought we weren't going to see this kind of robustly anti-gay document.
Senator, I don't know if you were able to listen to Representatives Ballinger and Jaspers. Both of them feel very comfortable that this bill, in fact, does not allow for discrimination.
I think they're mistaken. I think it embeds discrimination and takes away rights. It embeds discrimination in the laws of the state of Georgia. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that we're going to see a boycott if this is to pass. If this passes the Senate tonight or at any other time and goes to the governor's desk, I think there's going to be some serious discussions and organizing for a boycott of business here in Georgia. This is a bad bill. I'm really, to be honest with you, as I stand here, shocked that we have this discriminatory bill. It will allow not only discriminating against providing services. It will allow people to discriminate in employment. It is a very bad bill.
All right, Senator, you're going back in within the next hour,
Yes.
and you expect to take up RFRA. I assume that there's no reason to doubt that the Senate will agree to the substitute and send this to the governor's desk. There may be certainly heated debate, but
There will be debate. There will be amendments. We'll see how lengthy that debate is. There have been parliamentary moves by the Republican Party to shut off debate on other bills. I kind of expect that with this, but we're going to debate it and try to amend it as best we can.
All right, Senator Ford, thank you so much
Thank
on
you.
a very busy night for taking a few minutes with us. I appreciate it. Let's
Bill.
just put a finish on this, because I know neither of you sponsors of this measure, so I understand you know there's only so far you want to go with this. But here's one I do want to mention briefly. Senator Ford, I can't imagine that a single amendment is going to pass the Senate on this bill, because the last thing any of you who support this measure want is to throw this into a conference committee, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I think it was, like I said, people that have been supporting this bill, Representative Tanner and others in the House that have been working so tirelessly on this effort, trying to get, some sort of RFRA passed here in the state of Georgia. I think that they've worked really hard, and I think they've come up with a good bill, and I think we're not wanting to get into toing and froing.
It's interesting, Representative Jaspers, that the other day, that the governor has said a couple times now that he's very concerned about protecting Georgia's image in the business world, and that he cautioned about going too far with this RFRA measure. Do you think that this substitute stays on the positive side of what he's hoping this will accomplish? And do you expect he'll sign this legislation?
Well, I absolutely think it did. I think the Republican majority has worked tirelessly since I've been there, since 2010, to create Georgia in a way that's a great place to do business. And I don't think we're going to do anything to endanger that. And I think this bill also does that. And I think it's narrowly focused, with clear discrimination language. And I think when the dust settles and the hoorah gets over, I think people can be very comfortable with it in the business community.
Okay, let's talk about a measure that you both know a great deal about, and that's campus carry. And if you don't mind, let me just recap what we've gone through with that measure. This has been your baby for a couple of years now, Representative Jaspers. Representative Bellinger, you got very involved in this measure this year. You passed it pretty easily in the House. It went over to the Senate last Friday. There was heated debate over there, but at the end of a Friday afternoon, oh my gosh, they debated for an awfully long time, and they passed the bill. The governor had, I think it's right to say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, given some indication that he'd looked at this measure and felt it was a pretty good one and he could sign it. Is that a fair statement? That he felt that way?
I think there had been supportive statements from the governor. That was kind of the way that I had interpreted it. Certainly we had gotten no tacit agreement or anything like that from the executive branch, but there had been supportive statements made.
Okay, so then were you caught off guard, speaking of being caught off guard, when the other day the governor issued a statement saying, not so fast, I think we need to look at some changes in this bill. Were you surprised by that?
Oh, certainly you're surprised, because, this bill has been under great debate since January. I mean, everybody's known we're going to drop it. We're going to work on it. It's the year before that, probably 4 years for me. And with plenty of opportunity through committee meetings and just standing in the hallway and the emails and just the communication we've all had with the communities of everyone, that it just kind of came out of the blue to us. But I think, but we addressed those issues, I think, in that bill.
Well, do you think the governor just didn't read the bill carefully enough?
Well, I just think his interpretation of it may be a little different.
So let's go over what he specifically objected to and let you answer it. Maybe he's watching. Number one, he said he's a little concerned about the ability of individuals with carry permits to take guns into daycare facilities that are being operated on college university campuses, right?
Yep.
Number two, he said he was concerned about high school students who matriculate, who are taking college classes, and whether they're protected in this way against some kind of problem with weapons. And then he said he thought, and this one I thought was much more of a sticky point, he said maybe college administrators, university administrators should have a little bit more flexibility in essentially how they would implement campus carry in some very specific situations. Did I get that right?
Well, I think you were right on the daycare.
Yeah.
There was a specific concern voiced about that. However, there's no provision right now that allows for any daycare. So if you go to the daycare center around the corner, if it's not on a college campus, you can carry your weapon in there if you're a Georgia Weapons Carry License permit holder. So I don't know why we would want to segregate daycares specifically that are on college campuses.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure about that. As far as the dual enrollment, it's called the Campus Safety Act for a reason. We believe that Georgians, good Georgians, over 21, have the right to defend themselves. And I think that the ultimate goal of this bill is to make college campuses safer. HB 859 achieves that goal. So I would have no problem whatsoever, although thankfully my son is not there yet, with my son going to, attending a school where Georgia Weapons Carry License permit holders were allowed to carry their firearm. I would have no problem with that.
And Representative Jaspers, what about this third concern the governor raised, which seems to me to open a door you really don't want open, which is that in individual university settings, administrators might have some flexibility in how they implement campus carry.
Well, I think we would have a problem with that, and I think it's Governor Deal has been a great Second Amendment supporter, signed every Second Amendment bill that the House and Senate has sent to him, and on this one, I think there's a lot of outside people trying to influence what's going on here. You say they've been in the Capitol and everything, but I think my message to everyone listening is who we're talking about here. We're talking about Georgians who are over 21 that have had impeccable backgrounds. Their backgrounds are checked, they're fingerprinted, their criminal background is looked at, and so they're good Georgians. And all these things that are coming up are limiting what good Georgians can do, and they choose to defend themselves. And University College, they have generally opposed us with great vigor. We had a letter a couple of years ago with every one of them signing it, say they didn't want it. Representative Ballinger and I have had emails from college professors who do want it. And so I think we've had just more of an ear to the ground, listening to what the public has to say on this issue than I think anybody else, and because we've lived it. And I think the people in the General Assembly know that us two have really dedicated this session to this, and with great expenditure of time.
So you ready to roll up your sleeves and get to work on a substitute that will accomplish what the governor would like it to?
Well, we can't do that now.
Well, we don't have any specifics. The governor hasn't communicated with us any specifics.
Well, you do have a general gun bill. I think that's essentially what it's called, right? There is a bill that you could, well, I guess you can't even take that up. I'm not quite sure where it stands in the process.
It's currently in Senate rules.
It is.
Hopefully
Okay.
it gets out of Senate rules on Tuesday and is heard either Tuesday afternoon or it would be Tuesday afternoon. So someone could offer an amendment, a senator could offer an amendment, and then that would put it, of course, I just have to see what it is. But
Okay.
we'd probably disagree and then be to a conference.
Okay, so we have to go to a break. So let me just ask you a concluding question about just this part of it. If there are no changes in this bill, are you under the impression it's possible that Governor Deal will veto it, and there goes all the work that you've devoted yourselves to this session? Do you think that's a realistic possibility?
I'm not sure. He hasn't communicated with us specifically about his concerns. The only thing we got was the press release that everybody else had.
Really?
And, and I don't think it is a loss. I think what we've done here with campus safety is we've had a great discussion about campus safety. We've talked a lot about it. I think we've made more people aware of what's going on. and the rate of increase in crime on our campus.
But that sounds like a statement that suggests, well, if it doesn't get passed, if he doesn't sign it, we've accomplished a lot anyway.
Well, I think we have, but I'm not. I can't affect that outcome, Bill.
Gotcha.
I really can't.
Okay,
And,
fair enough.
I know that hopefully I'll be reelected and be back here next year if it were, and you and I would be sitting right back
Good.
here on.
You're always welcome, Representative Jasper. Look, we've got to take a break. I understand the Senate has just begun its debate over the substitute on RFRA, and we'll probably listen in on a little bit of what they're doing. But we have more we want to talk to you about when we come back as well. So right now, let's go to a break, and we'll come back live with more Lawmakers.
Next great American invention? Meet a few Georgia Tech students who have an idea.
We're Team Replantable, and we've invented a way for people to grow produce right in their kitchen.
Engineers and innovators of every stripe present their proposals to the judges.
Science and engineering.
Industrial design, mechanical engineering,
Computer engineering, electrical engineering.
See the teams who've earned a golden ticket and who will take first place at the 2016 Inventure Prize at Georgia Tech.
Tonight at 7:30 on GPB.
On this date, March 16th, 1861, delegates to Georgia's secession convention in Savannah unanimously ratified the proposed Confederate Constitution, and the rest was history. Welcome back to Lawmakers. I'm Bill Nigut. As we've been telling you, we're following a very important breaking story down at the Capitol tonight. The House down there a couple of hours ago debated and passed a substitute to the religious liberty bills that have been so controversial down there throughout the session. The bill was introduced on the floor before an awful lot of members had seen it. Some are convinced it accomplishes what the authors had hoped it would without any discrimination whatsoever. Others are very hot about the fact they think it codifies discrimination against gays and lesbians. Shelby Lynn got a chance to record some of that debate, and she prepared this brief report for us.
Section 5 is protecting faith-based organizations from employment decisions. This just states that a faith-based organization cannot be required to hire or retain any person whose religious beliefs or practices or lack of either are not in accord with those of the faith-based organization.
This bill represents a very personal issue for many of us, because all of us have someone in our circle of life who may be gay. Is that not true?
Yes, sir, I believe that's correct.
Is it, further yield?
Yes.
Question. Is it not true that this bill does not in any way, shape, or form further enhance or strengthen the ability of the owner of a restaurant or a hotel to deny service to an individual just because of their sexual orientation?
That's correct.
I have been respectful in our discourse, and I have been thoughtful in my dialogue, and I have made my position known that any religious freedom legislation can, should, and must contain anti-discrimination language to protect all Georgians.
We stood together and said yes to 757. I was proud to lead our caucus to do so. And I come before you today to urge my members and to urge this body to vote no, because we have stepped away from standing together to forcing others to bend.
So what we showed you there is just a little of the debate in the House over the substitute religious liberty bill that was passed by a wide margin in the House. We could take a quick look at the Senate live. They are right now beginning their debate on that substitute measure. There's no reason at all to expect that it will not pass. The Senate has always looked very favorably on religious liberty bills. So by the end of this evening, we have every reason to think that this bill will be headed to the governor's desk for signature, and I think there's going to be a lot of conversation in the days ahead about just what this measure really does do. So we're back live with our guests, Representative Mandy Ballinger and Representative Rick Jaspers, on a very exciting day down at the Capitol. Thank you both for being here. Let me ask you very quickly about one of the outstanding measures. It's gotten a fair amount of attention, and as we wind down, is getting a little bit more. And that's as to whether there ought to be tax breaks for Super Bowl tickets that would help lure a Super Bowl to the new Falcon football stadium. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I was in the losing proposition on that one. I voted against it.
Yes.
and that, my no vote on that is a direct reflection of the district that I represent. And in town hall or just meeting people in the grocery store, in the restaurants, walking around town, that they just didn't want to see that. Even though it's an economic plus. The people where I'm from, an hour and a half, 2 hours away from Atlanta, did not see it as something they wanted to do.
I wish that I knew this. Maybe one of you does. I don't know. I cannot. Do we have an idea of what this amounts to in terms of a potential?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we absolutely do.
Well, I mean, I don't have it. Do we have it here with us?
We basically, the state has foregone roughly about $10 million in sales tax revenue by the ticket concession that we gave in order to get the NFL. And we've actually put a measure in place or a procedure in place so that if moving forward we needed to do that again, that it would be possible. However, the state will also garner probably about $20 million just alone on sales tax revenue from having a Super Bowl, from food sales, merchandise sales, and that sort of thing. So we gave up 10 to get 20, and that's not even talking about the overall economic impact.
Okay, so this raises for me an interesting question that is also debated greatly out there in the public, and that is all of the attempt at ways in which state and municipal governments jump through hoops to help sports teams get sports events. And, there are an awful lot of people who think that the return that Representative Ballinger is talking about often doesn't live up to what it's expected to be, and that we're going way too far in the amount of public money we put into sports stadiums and to some events like this.
Oh, I agree. And that's what,
it
does. I mean, people, they're frustrated by it. I mean, and, also in that bill, also remember was the sales tax holiday on schools, and your school purchases to go back to school with, and also the energy appliance one. So they tried to put two together that, one felt would be, be good for the other because they're both tax exemptions. But I think just a general guy out on the street says, those NFL guys, those guys flying in from all over the world, they can afford this. And I think they see some needs not being met across the state. I think our money could be better used for that, even though in the end, the math does work out, we do come out better. But, in the sitting and pumping gas at the gas station, they don't want to hear it.
All right, so you want to say something real quick?
I would honestly, just disagree. I think Georgia has become the #1 place to do business by making smart moves.
Okay.
We didn't give up. We gave up a potential income.
Okay, so I'm a bigger theater guy than I'm a sports guy. Could we start talking about tax breaks on tickets to theater events?
If you can show me the numbers and make them work.
All right. Listen, we're completely out of time. Representative Ballinger, Representative Jaspers, a pleasure to have you here. We're going to watch Campus Carry in the days ahead. It's one of the big final items that we'll watch as we move towards Sine Die next Thursday night. So thanks for joining us tonight. That does it for day 38 of the 2016 session. We're down to 2 days until the gavel comes down on the session. As always, you can track us on Facebook and Twitter at GPB News, or check out our website, gpb.org/lawmakers. You can find full episodes and other information there. And don't miss our radio show, GPB's Political Rewind, every Wednesday at 2 and Fridays at 3. I really do think we have the best group of insiders in broadcasting. We should tell you as we leave you tonight, the Senate is continuing right now to debate the new RFRA bill, and we will watch that for you. And when we come back next Tuesday, I'll bet you that we'll have a lot of people who have a lot to say once they've really studied that measure. The legislature's taking some time off before they finish up next week. So is lawmakers. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Bill Nygut.